What about you? I know you've had some bad ones.
I have a very strange date story that's strange because it was with a celebrity. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Mess with Jess. I have a very, very special guest with me today. She is my best girl, my very best friend, Miss Tati Rodriguez.
Hello.
Hi, babe. This is fun because this is just what
it's a
we
regular
do.
night.
This is just what we do.
Yes.
We're just filming it tonight, which I think is pretty cool. One of the things that not many people know is that we are literally neighbors. Like, we're like an 8 to 10 minute walk away from each other. So nights like this happen very often, just not usually with cameras, but here we are. So for those who may not know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Altagracia Rodriguez, and I am from El Salvador, and I was born and raised there. My mom was the only one of her siblings that stayed in El Salvador. So all of my aunts and uncles live here in LA. And they're kind of the people that held me up when I moved here. I have 2 older brothers who are my best friends, aside from you. And yeah, I moved here to do music, and it kind of transitioned into something else, which I'm so happy about.
Yeah.
But that's actually how we met,
Yes, it
in
is.
college. So
yes, we were in the same performing arts program. And I remember, like, when you first came, I've told you before, I just remember thinking, like, this girl is so pretty. And then I heard you sing, and I was like, and she can sing beautifully.
Thank you.
And it didn't take long for us to click. I feel like, like, usually there's, like, this big story of, like, oh, well, we did this, and then, like, but I don't feel like it's like that with us. I feel like it just, like, just was what it was.
I think in the beginning, it was more like we were running in kind of different circles because you were in a class that was, I think, more senior than I was. And then it kind of transformed into us hanging out a lot and then, like, doing
crossing
gigs together,
paths.
crossing paths, hanging out with the same kind of people. And then years later, look at us.
The rest was history. And we ditched everyone else and realized that life was a hell of a lot better, just the 2 of us. That's so true. And it's so funny that you are not funny, but I'm glad that you led with where you grew up and where you're from, because that was something I wanted to ask you about. How was that for you? Like, not only growing up in a foreign country, but then you came here when you were you
17
18?
or 18?
17.
18. I had just turned 18.
And that's, like, got to be kind of crazy to, like, make that transition. Because by that age, I feel like, I mean, you're almost an adult. So I would imagine to come to a whole new
country,
place, that would be, like, a whole new... Was there anything, like, specific that you remember that was, like, hard to adjust to or, like, weird to adjust to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a huge change. It was me leaving my parents' house for the first time. So the whole thing with, I think, people that go to bilingual schools in Central America, or at least in El Salvador, is that when you graduate, I personally had the idea of moving to either the United States or some other country. And that's what a lot of people do. So I always had the idea that I was going to move. But when it happened, it was just a huge
culture shock.
It was just, I was so dependent on my parents, and I feel like I learned so much. It was more like my transformative years. Is that the right word?
Yeah, it is.
Years,
yeah.
Because
because you were kind of like not thrown into it, because that sounds so, like, harsh, but, like, kind of, like you were kind of, like, forced, I guess, to, like, become your own kind of person, and you're responsible for yourself and all those things. I mean, I didn't move out of my parents' house until I was 25. So, I feel like I was pretty pretty dependent, like for a long time on my parents.
Yeah, and it wasn't even that I moved out by myself when I moved here. Rather, I moved in with one of my tias, and I was living with
you had family already here, right?
Yeah, I had family. I have family here, so they, you know, with all their love, took me in, and they're kind of the ones. I have so many parents here that they're the
and
ones
I love
that,
them.
Yes, and they love you.
They're like the warmest.
They're obsessed with you.
Most awesome family, like ever.
I'm obsessed with my family. They are the best. But yeah, I have like 3 moms here, and like so many uncles, and my cousins are here. So
yeah,
that's great. But yeah, growing up in El Salvador, it was just, the people are different, just how people carry themselves. I want to say they are very, they're more traditional, more religious. But it was just an environment full of love always. And I think it was, for me, one of the biggest changes was there's always kind of like a focus in nature in El Salvador. Like my dad, especially growing up, he taught us a lot about like just like trees and like, you know, just
I was gonna say that makes total sense.
Fruits and
it makes total sense because I feel like anytime like Tati and I are out like walking together, or like anytime we're out, like I'm like just in La La Land and you're like naming like, flowers, ooh, like naming what kind of trees. Insects. I'm like, okay, yeah, but it's so cool because I did not grow up like that at all. Like,
yeah,
but there's something so beautiful about that.
Especially having 2 older brothers, it was just kind of like us chasing each other around, me wanting to be like them. Like if they were out looking at like a bug on the pavement, like I would go and like look at it with them. And Andy, one of my brothers, like climbed trees and you know, just a lot of that, a lot of playing outside. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's something that I always like think about too, is I think that's so important. And I feel like our generation, like we were part of the generation that still had that. Not that kids don't have that now, but it's like we were kind of coming into our like teenage years when social media and internet was like not even, it was a thing, but it was not anywhere near like what it is now. We had like a balance still, you know.
You just reminded me of that Steph actually posted that little video. Shout out Steph. That video of like when we used to play music on the computer. The MP3 player would play those like swirly, colorful things. Yeah,
like LimeWire and like all those. When
MSN Messenger. Oh my gosh.
When she posted that, I almost like reposted it because it was like so nostalgic. Because I remember that exact thing where you'd get like in a trance just watching it,
staring at it.
Good times. Good times. I love all those like nostalgic videos that people post on Instagram and stuff. I saw one the other day that was like, I don't know if you remember this or if you had this, but there was this program, and I'm not going to remember what it was called, but I remember us using it in elementary school, and it was like an art program. Like we had, I remember
paint,
like something like that. It wasn't paint, but it was like that where like we had computer class or whatever, and I remember it was like the fun thing to like if you got free time, you know, if you like did your work and that was like, okay, now you have free time, then it was like this paint like website where you could like go on, and it had all these like sounds when you would click like certain buttons and stuff, and someone posted like a clip of that exact one the other day, and it was just like
trigger.
Oh my god, it was so cool.
How cute.
But speaking of school, I actually wanted to ask you, like, obviously growing up in El Salvador, Spanish is your first language, right? And I feel like no one would even know that because you speak
I feel like so well. Like I get that a lot. Like people think that I was raised here, but it's just because I went to a fully bilingual school. Not fully, but a bilingual school. And most of my classes, so science, math, all of the general classes were taught in English. And we just had a couple of Spanish classes, which were literature and like geography.
Okay.
And so all my life since kindergarten, I've been studying English, and I think that I'm better than most people at kind of mimicking sounds, you know?
Yeah.
Because I feel like out of the three of my siblings, I think, and people say this to us, it's not just me saying it, that like they can sometimes tell when my brothers have kind of their accents. But I think I'm pretty good with mine, unless like I'm really agitated or like whatever just comes out, you know?
Yeah. Is that something that's like common? Like, or was your school that you went to, was that unique that it was bilingual? Or
no, there's a few bilingual schools. In fact, we do like we kind of had what do you call them, like art festivals where like all of these bilingual schools would participate, or like sports tournaments. So we were pretty in cahoots with each other. Yeah.
That's so cool. I almost wish that like our schools here were just like bilingual, like and that we all could learn Spanish from like a very young age and be fluent in both. Like I feel like that would be
excellent,
helpful,
but
useful.
there's like La Alemana, there's that's a German school, there's a La Británica, there's a British school. That's so it's also English, but it's like from Britain, not the United States. So cool. Yeah, all sorts of bilingual schools. Very cool.
Awesome. I don't think that I realized that was like a thing, but I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Shout out CISS Internacional, Colegio Internacional.
Ooh. I could just sit here and like listen to you speak Spanish. Like just say whatever, you want. Cuss me out. It just sounds so beautiful. Well, thank God that you moved here from El Salvador, because if you hadn't, I wouldn't have had my best, truest girlfriend. I feel like whenever I talk about friendship to anyone, and that's like already been a topic on this podcast, especially female friendship, I just think that ours has always been so like reciprocal and so easy and so like just pure, like honestly, like and I'm not just saying that, I feel like such a sacred thing. So I know for me, like I hold our friendship so like fragilely and like sacredly, because I don't think I've ever had another friend. Well, not that I don't think, I know that I've never had another friend, especially a girlfriend, that's just been such a genuine and like positive light in my life, you know? And I feel like I've always said, I feel like I don't think friendship is possible when there's any kind of comparison or competition or jealousy. Like those things just don't, they
coexist.
They can't, because and it's like I feel like you can love someone and you can care about someone, but if you're in the back of your head like
you're comparing each other,
it's just not gonna work, at least not in like a healthy way, I guess. And I just feel like you and I have honestly never had that, and I'm so like proud of that. I feel like we are genuinely proud of each other, and like you are you and I am me. I don't think you want to be me, and I don't think I want to be you, because we couldn't be, and we need each other
together.
Exactly. I'm like I need you to be you, because it completes me, you know? And so and I think that's such a, I don't know, it's just so something rare to be grateful for.
Yeah, and I think we also met so young, that we've seen each other through almost everything.
Yeah, lots of things.
And I don't think that a lot of things. I don't think I realized back then how special it is to find someone as like lasting and true and that cares so much. And I think we just transitioned into being these kinds of people too, because like I said, I try to make friends in college, but there was no one that I felt like a real connection with or that would hold me down or apart from my family,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But you're right. It's so rare to find anyone that you feel you can be entirely yourself with. And I feel like I'm so lucky to have you and to keep trying and wanting to try to cultivate friendships like that because
exactly.
that's all you can do.
Yeah. I feel like you've kind of, for me, like you've kind of set like the standard for me. Like now when I meet people, because same, like I feel like I've always been someone who, and I know you know this about me, but I've always been someone who I love the idea of friendship. I love like the give and take of friendship, and like, and I maybe that comes from like not always making friends easily before, so it's just something that I've always wanted, because I'm like, oh, like I love the idea of having a friend, and like
good friends are very hard to come by.
Yes, and so I love like meeting people and bonding and trying to get close, but I think like it's going to be really hard for me now it is really hard for me now to like tolerate any kind of like bullshit, because I'm like, well, like I already know that that's not what it should be, you know?
And that's what happens at this point, I think, when you already have a handful of people that are so important and that you treasure and love so much and that you hold to a high regard. So when anyone comes in
and gives less than that,
it's just not the same thing. And I think when I go into trying to make a new friend, I'm always going to give you exactly what I am, you know, I'm not going to give you something.
Because you already know that's enough, clearly.
That's enough, and I know myself, you know? And I'm at a point where I don't really want to waste my time just like having people that may or may not show up for me.
Right.
And so I'm so grateful because I feel like I have like really solid friendships, you
Same
being
here.
right at the top of it. But also, you know, friendship and family too, and my cousins and stuff. So
yeah.
I
have a strong circle. I feel like I have a small circle, but it's a strong one. So I'm grateful for that as well.
You have me, honey.
Yes. Yes, I do. And actually, related to that and related to friendships and people and standards and all these things, I'd love to talk about dating, because I feel like that is such a hot button topic, especially for people our age. And it's something that I find so interesting, because obviously I'm not in the dating game anymore. Thank God. Thank God. But whenever I hear about friends dating or just people I know dating, I find it so interesting that we live in a world where there's like more access than there ever was before. We have dating apps. And I was even thinking of this earlier. I'm like, okay, so before I was married, before I was dating my husband, like I was on dating apps. I remember like I had like, I think the only ones that were really like popular or that people were using were like Tinder. And I think maybe Bumble was like the other one. But now there's like Hinge, and there's like all these different
Chispa. It's like the Latin one.
Really?
It's horrible. It's horrible.
That's
like
so
the
funny.
bottom of the barrel.
Really?
Yeah, so bad.
It's so funny. I didn't know that. But like, that's what I'm saying is like, yeah, of course I remember like dating apps have like been a thing for a while. But now I feel like if someone says they're dating someone, it's pretty safe to assume that they probably met them on a dating app, because that just is, or it just tends to be the way that people meet each other, which is awesome. Like, I think that's an awesome tool that we have.
Yeah.
But I find it really interesting that even with all this access and this like ease to meet people, I feel like more often than not, I hear people having a really hard time finding somebody. And I was thinking about that earlier. I'm like, what does that mean? That like we have all this access, but people are having such a hard time. Like that doesn't, why do you think that is?
I just attribute it to just having too many options. Having too many options, and also social media has made it to where like everyone has an opinion about everything, like every single thing. So like every single thing is going to be anyone can find an ick to someone, whatever it is. And when you have all of that information circulating, that's and like true. You're seeing that on your feed, it kind of like, I think sets off like a little red flag in your brain, and you're like, okay, I have to like look for that next time that I'm like looking at a profile or like someone talks to me, and like there's just so many opinions.
It's true, because I feel like
it's taken the romance out of it. Like,
it's true, because I was gonna say like, I don't know, like when I met Phil, I always talk about how like I didn't know his political stance. I didn't know like his religious beliefs. I did like, at least not in
you
depth.
Didn't come into it knowing everything about
not in
him.
depth. Like I might have had like a idea, you know, of, because I knew him and I had an idea of like maybe what his like preferences were and stuff, but that wasn't something that like we like led our conversations with, you know?
Right.
And I do feel like you're right that that's become such a like make or break thing now, whereas before like people would meet each other and like fall in love, and then they kind of find out more.
Each other chances.
Right.
They like cut it right at the start because there's like one thing that they don't like about a person, and then they assume that everything's like bad. Yeah. And we've talked about this, like, you know, I date, you know, and so sometimes I feel like, am I being a little too cutthroat with this? Like,
too picky?
Yeah, too picky. And like, should I give them more of my time? Like, what is it? But at the same time, there's a lot of people out there that do not deserve your time. And I would say it's most people.
That's what I was going to ask you too, is so obviously you're in the dating game and you're on the apps, and like you know, here and there, or like you take breaks sometimes, right? And like you go back.
I think it's like very common with people that, you know, we're on the apps and then we take a break a few months because like there's a lot of bullshit, and then like you come back and it's the same thing. It's a vicious cycle, and you feel like shit like anyway, you know. So it's so terrible. It's so horrible.
It's so terrible. It's like terrible, but also like it shouldn't be terrible. Like I hear that and it's like, God, like if we're able to like connect with so many people, it should be such a great thing. But I think, but you're right that sometimes like more isn't necessarily
it's
better.
Terrible when you get to the point where like you want something real, and you want not even like, I don't even want to use the big R word relationship. It's just like you want someone to really see you. And not to see you as someone
with a profile
or
with
just
all
like
your like likes and
you know. You just want like company, you know, and just like a friend, because that's what it is, you know. When
and
you're
that's
dating,
what it should be, like at first, at least, for sure.
When you're dating, you're trying to find your best friend, a person to be with you for as long as they want to be with you, and you want to be with them, right? But it's like finding a friend, you know, finding a girlfriend, and you know, if you hit it off and you connect, then it's a beautiful thing, and it can last forever, you know. And
but if not,
and it's also like a choice, not like it's a choice, too, because I feel like I'm committed to you.
Oh,
you know, like I want to see you for my whole entire life.
This is a very committed relationship. Let me tell you guys,
full time. You cannot escape me.
That's so funny. Do you have any? This is what I always find like hilarious, but also like painful, but also hilarious. Is any like, have you had any like disaster dates or like worst dates or
any
of that? Please, please share. Tell us all. 'Cause I'm trying to think if
haven't
I
we
even
all?
know. Because like you've told me little things, but not like
I feel like I block them out of my brain, honestly, when it's bad.
that's called self-protection.
Yes, I really do, and I noticed that because my brother or you can tell me, like, I've told you guys bad things that have happened, but then like I feel like I forget about them in like a month in.
Well, it's probably good.
But one that I can think of, it was not fun because in the end I kind of like felt unsafe too.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't like very fun.
That's the other thing about, well, that's another subject. But
know.
even just like safety. Like
Safety. Yeah. And like you're just out here, and trying to meet people.
Yep.
And so
you don't want to have to think about that also? Like that kind of
yeah.
sucks that you have to think about that too.
Want to meet people. So
Yeah.
it's like, are you just gonna be at home?
Yeah.
But it really isn't even like, okay. So what happened was I had been talking to this guy on Hinge, and this was years ago. It wasn't recent. But I was talking to this guy for like a week on Hinge. We FaceTimed once, and then he asked me out. He told me, do you want to go to dinner with me? And I was like, oh yeah, of course, let's go. And he offered to pick me up, and I was like, oh, la-di-da, like, okay, you can pick me up. Now I feel like for the first date, ladies don't have him pick you up for the first date.
But it's I can see why it's like he's trying to be a gentleman. He's trying to be chivalrous.
He seemed so nice. So like we hit it off. And he picked me up, and he took me to In-N-Out. In-N-Out, I love In-N-Out. So we went to the drive-through, and we ate in the car, and we were just talking. I loved it. And on the way back, we were just talking about, I just think it was about the people that we usually date, or like what we usually go for.
Okay. Like your type or whatever?
Yeah. We were on our way back home after eating, and he asked what I usually date and what I like, what I look for. And I said, I like Latinos and like, people that kind of think like me, that are in my same wavelength. But I would love if my person like spoke Spanish and, so they could relate to my culture. And he didn't, and immediately I felt the energy change. And he was driving the car. And he kind of immediately reacted to me saying that. And he started saying, oh, so you just don't see this going anywhere? Then why did you agree to go out with me? Why have we been talking? And I just kind of said like, oh no, like it's not like I like you. I've enjoyed the time with you.
Yeah. Because you're talking about like like prefer, like
my preferences.
Sure. Yeah.
And I guess like he could have, I don't know why he took it as badly, but it wasn't like even geared toward him or, I didn't mean to offend him by saying,
well, you wouldn't be on a date with him. Like if
exactly. And that's what I said, I was like, yeah, it doesn't really have to do with you. I'm just saying, it would be nice if my partner knew Spanish, or like knew about the culture.
Of course.
And he started rambling on to the point where I didn't want to keep like saying things because I didn't want to make him more aggravated. And we were already like on our way back. So I was just kind of like sitting there.
Oh my God.
Quiet. And he was driving and he was like, oh, I don't even know, like blah, blah, blah. And we got to my house and I was like, okay, bye. So I like went to my house. And the day after, he texts me and he's like, I don't even know why I wasted my time. And I took you to dinner and I,
ew.
Well, and it was so weird. It was so weird. And
if it's over, if that's his reaction to something like that small, can you imagine? Like, thank God you didn't continue.
Oh yeah,
dating this person.
100%. It was so odd. I just was not expecting him to react. Yeah. I just thought we were having just this casual, fun, cute, flirty conversation, and
it's normal to like talk about like, what's your type? And like the person I don't think is supposed to get offended.
I know.
Like
I just think he took it really badly. I did not intend that. So yeah, that was a bad one. You know, there's always little things that can turn you off from someone, but I don't let those things ruin the whole day for me, you know. But that was a pretty that was a pretty
that's
bad
like a
reaction.
Scary one. I feel like that's like
he was
low-key kind of screaming.
Yeah, he was just, it was like a switch.
Oh my God.
And I don't know what I said that made him so angry.
Well, it's clearly something that like had nothing to do with you. Like everything to do with him and his trauma. But I'm glad that that's like where it ended.
Yes, thank goodness. Because never again getting into a guy's car on the first date.
Yeah, but like I said, I get I get why you did, because it's like, especially nowadays, I feel like it's so easy to be like, well, I'll meet you there, like whatever. But when someone's like, no, I'll come and I'll pick you up, like that's a nice thing. And they're like normal too. Yeah. One of my like questions that I ask my friends when they go on a date, out on a date, is like, did he seem normal? Yeah. Because sometimes like you oversee those red flags too. I've done it. Yeah, I did it for a lot of years, like just because like I wanted to keep the date going, right? Or just completely. Yeah. But now it's not worth it. No, and I think your radar is probably stronger now too. Oh my gosh. Yes, which is a good thing. Definitely. What about you? I know you've had some bad ones. I actually haven't had many like bad dates, thankfully. But I have a very strange date story that's strange because it was with a celebrity, and it was like one of my childhood crushes. And I won't name names, but we all grew up with him. Okay. And he was one of my childhood crushes. So long story short, this was like maybe 2015, 2016, and I was watching a movie, and we'll call him Boy. Okay? So Boy was in this movie, and I was like, oh, he's so cute. Like he's very cute. He's very good looking. And I was like, oh, he's so cute. And it just dawned on me. I'm like, I wonder if he has like an Instagram, or like, cause he's not like I wouldn't say he's like an A-list celebrity. Okay. And so he just seemed like it's possible that he had social media. So I looked him up on Instagram, and I found him. He had the little blue check. So I was like, okay, like that's him. And I, just being the brave little soldier I was, DM'd him. And I think literally all I put was hi. Like I didn't say anything else. I was just like, hi, it's like a little smiley face, like whatever. And I remember thinking like, he probably won't ever see it, like, but whatever, I'm just going to do it anyways. And like hours later, he responded. And I remember like dying. I think I sent it to like all my close friends, and like, I couldn't believe it. Mm-hmm. And he responded, and he was very nice. And this was also right after I had done American Idol, and I think I had some stuff on my profile like about it. And so he's like, oh, you've been on American Idol, that's so cool, blah blah blah. And it was like a very friendly conversation. And then at some point he was like, well, let's get off this thing, just text me, here's my number. And I was like, oh my God, I thought I was living like my preteen fantasies dream. Yes. And so I was like, okay. So then I had his number, and we were texting, and he asked, well, actually, no, I think we figured out that like where I was, there was a studio that I was recording at like pretty often in Toluca Lake. And I think at the time he like lived near there. So he was like, oh, well, we should just meet up and like get a coffee or like whatever. So we met up to get a coffee at Coffee Bean. And I remember like being worried. I mean, he had the little blue check, and back then, like, famous. You know, you couldn't pay for that shit. So I knew it was like legit. But I still was like, what if it's not him? Like, what if I'm getting like catfish right now? But I got out of the car. It was him. He was sitting there. He was very cute. Crazy. And we had like a really nice hang. I wouldn't even say it was a date. And that was like the main thing I felt when I left, was just like, he was very friendly, but not flirty. Okay. And it was a lot of talk about like what we do. Like, you know, me talking about the singing stuff, him talking about the acting stuff. He also has brothers, little hint, that are also in the industry. And so he was talking about that. And all in all, it was just like a very friendly meeting. And I remember leaving there thinking like, okay, like that was super cool that I got to meet him, but like I don't think it's going to be a romantic thing. It just didn't feel like that. Didn't feel like he was trying to be flirty in any way. But he wanted to meet up with me, right? So I'm like, kind of weird. Like, you just want to meet up to like be a friend, like kind of weird. But when I went home from that hang, he texted me and he was like, hey, my brother is performing a show at Hotel Cafe, and I just want to know if you would be my date. Okay, emphasis on the words be my date, because that was what he said. That was what he asked. And I remember like, oh my God, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he did, like, I don't know, maybe he's just a slow burner. Like, I don't know, maybe this could be something. So I was like freaking out. And of course I'm trying to play cool, like, oh sure, okay. And I decided to be his date. But like, I was going to drive there myself. I lived far, like pretty far from LA at the time. So I was like, I'll meet you there and whatever. So the day comes, I go to Hotel Cafe, I walk in and I see him, and he's in like a group of, like a circle of friends. And I remember walking up and him being like, hey, like, again, super friendly, like gives me a hug, introduces me to the circle, like, hey guys, this is Jess, like blah, 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 blah. And I'm meeting his friends. And then I remember after the introduction, it was just like their conversation like resumed. And I was just kind of like standing there. And it felt like a little awkward because I just felt like I was just standing there. I remember being like, okay, let me show that like I'm an independent lady. Like I don't need, you know, anyone to stick by my side or whatever. So I took it upon myself to say, I'm going to go get a drink at the bar for myself, assuming that he would come with me. Yeah. But he didn't. And so he was like, oh, okay, like for sure. Like, you go do that. So I'm like, okay. So I go to the bar. I get a drink. He never comes.
Rude.
And then when I turn back around, he's gone. And his friends are still there, but he's not. So then I'm kind of standing there with a drink like, what? Okay. And mind you, like, I'm by myself. Like, I came there to be with him.
His date. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, where'd he go? But I'm like trying to play it cool. And actually, one of his friends, I ended up feeling like I was on the date with one of his friends, because one of his friends was so nice and talkative and was like, how do you know boy? And like, blah, 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 blah. And was talking to me like the whole time, like trying to make me comfortable.
Right.
It seemed. But long story short, like he was just gone for like, and then it started, okay, now he's been gone for like 10 minutes.
What?
Okay, now he's been gone for like 20 minutes.
What an asshole.
Okay, and I was trying to like not make it a big deal, but then I'm like, okay, I'm here alone. Like, what's going on? So I remember I texted him and was like, hey, I think I lost you. Like, are you around? Like, whatever. And he texted me back like, oh yeah, I'm so sorry. Like, I had to run backstage. I'm helping my brother, like with some, I don't know. He couldn't
tell you that,
like setting
before he
something
left?
up or whatever. He's like, I'll be out in a minute. Like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, no worries. So I'm still like hanging out by myself, kind of floating around, like don't know anybody. Then this guy comes by and literally spills a whole, like half a beer on me. I remember that, like as I'm standing by myself. So now I like smell like beer, and it was just miserable.
That sucks.
So then I see his brother come out, like the band that was playing first stopped, and then I see his brother come out. So I'm like, okay, now like surely he's gonna come out. Yeah. So I still don't see him. His brother starts playing, and I'm kind of like standing there, and then I'm like scanning the room, and boy is sitting at a table by himself. It's like a big table with like a lot of chairs.
Serious?
He's sitting by himself, like recording his brother. And like, this might not sound like, I'm sure a lot of people would listen to this and be like, well, like maybe he just invited you like just to hang. But I'm like, But in that case, he could have been like, hey, my brother has a show, bring some friends.
Exactly.
Like, but this was like, come meet me to be my date. And I look over, and by this point, like by the point where I saw him sitting, it had been like well over an hour of me like by myself there.
What an asshole.
Yeah. And so
that's
the
horrible.
craziest part is that happened. I was like texting my mom the whole time because she knew what was going on. I told her how excited I was. She knew who he was. And so we were texting. And I was giving her kind of a play-by-play of like,
what's happening.
Okay, I see him now, and I've been alone this whole time. I remember my mom being like, leave. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, come home. Like, whatever. So I'm like, yeah, no, you're right. So I literally remember telling his friend, who shout out to the friend, because he was so nice. I was like, you know what? I'm going to use the restroom really quick. And he's like, oh, okay. And I just like left. But the craziest part is he never texted me. He never was like, hey, where'd you go?
Are you serious?
Hey, are you alive? Did you end up in it? Like, I could have, like, been
that's so
kidnapped,
horrible.
like, thrown in a ditch somewhere. He never texted. And I, like, was so tempted to text. Even a few days later, I was like, I'm going to text him. I'm
what
like,
a trash human
And I
being.
never did because I was just like,
he doesn't deserve
dude.
that. Yeah.
Like, But I was thinking, like, how crazy. Like, do you just ask girls on dates and then, like, pay them, no mind? Like, and then...
That's so rude.
Never like follow up with where I went. Like I thought that was so really mean, but really weird. Like I just always thought it was weird. I couldn't figure it out.
Because he wasn't mean to you.
No, he seemed very friendly, very nice, and
that's so weird.
I got from the jump like I never felt like he was like super like romantic, like flirt. None of that. He was like, if anything, just very friendly. It seemed like a very platonic vibe. Mm-hmm. But like,
but he asked you there for you to be his date.
Needless to say, it like completely ruined my crush on him, and can't
say his name.
Say his name.
No, I won't say his name, but he doesn't deserve that. But
sucks.
I wish him all the best. I wish whoever he's with the best, because I just
don't
feel
wish
like,
him the best.
I feel like, does that mean? I don't know.
I wish him the worst.
Is that how you... there's something about that, like, level of celebrity, even though, like I said, he's not, not Brad Pitt or anything.
There's a disconnect there. Like, how can you do that?
Yeah, I just feel like, is that just how you, like, get away? Like, you get away with that? Like, you just get away with, like, not following up with people?
Maybe he gets off on people, like... complaining to him after, or like being mad at him, or
that's
like
why I didn't. That's why I was like, I wanted to so bad, but I was like, you know what? No, like I'm not. And then I drove all the way. I lived in San Dimas at the time, which like it isn't like far, but like far enough that it was a waste. It was just a waste of like.
Yeah, you're just gonna drag me out here to make me feel bad.
Yeah, and now it like ruined him for me, which sucks because I was
sorry.
I was a fan before. It's okay.
That's sad.
It's all right. It is what it is.
Never meet your heroes or your crushes.
Yeah, I know, because sometimes it will disappoint. I mean, that's happened to me a few times, like meeting people that you admire or that you look up to and being like really disappointed is kind of a shitty feeling. But whatever. It didn't work out, and
we don't care about him
God.
anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it all just comes down to communication. Like whether someone's into you or not, or into the date or not, or whatever. It's like just
say
communicate it. Like I can take it, you know. Like I'm a big girl. Like I can, you know. And so I guess that's my question to you. Like for me, a deal breaker is just in general, and not just with like dating, but friendship, like acquaintances, everyday like interactions with people. When someone can't communicate like properly, or like communicate honestly with me, it's like I can't, it's a deal breaker for me. Do you feel like you have any like deal breakers, quote unquote?
Yeah, I think a big deal breaker would be someone that's not accepting of different lifestyles, like someone who's not a supporter of LGBTQ, or someone that's just closed-minded. And also I think a red flag is if you're overly religious.
Yeah, no, I get that.
You know, like if it's like too out there, to me, it can be a little bit of a red flag.
Yeah.
But yeah, I try not to look at it like that, you know.
Well, it's also personal to you too. It's like everyone's going to have different deal breakers, because if you're someone who's not like overly religious, then like obviously someone who is going to be
right,
an adjustment for you, you know.
Yes.
It's going to be something that you're not used to, and that's, you know, and obviously not being supportive of, you know, LGBTQ is you are such a big supporter and you are such a advocate, and so if someone isn't, like, that's gonna be tough. So I get that.
Yeah, if it's two different, I think it just comes down to being on the same, I'm gonna use the word again, wavelength, as me, being like having a job that they love, you know, having, or okay, a red flag would be hygiene.
Oh, yes, huge,
big one. I've gone out, unfortunately, with people that even smell bad.
Same.
Like,
or like
good
looking people too. Like
good looking people, hot ass
people,
and just not good hygiene.
No,
breath,
you know what's? Can I tell you? Can I tell you what one of my
it's a thing, and it happens often.
Can I tell you one of my biggest things? Just like how you said, one of my biggest things is if you have dirt under your fingernails.
Oh,
that means that you are like not washing.
Yeah.
First of all, your nails shouldn't be long enough to accumulate visible dirt
but
underneath. But if they are, that's an issue. That means you're not scrubbing your ass the way you need to be. Because if you were, that dirt would come out. And I'm telling you, like, I've seen it, and it's so gross and just not nice.
Just groom yourself.
Yeah, grooming. Just standard grooming.
Shower.
Yeah, and like scrub. Deodorant. Like take a shower, but like scrub.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, 100%.
Get in there.
hygiene, and that applies also to their personal space too. Yeah. Just like their car, you know, their things, their home. You just need to get it together.
Take care of your things. Take care of your shit.
And you'd be surprised, you lucky married woman, to see how many to see like these people are not like they haven't had someone tell them to pick up their things or to clean their space in a long time until they were, you know, they moved out of their home. And I feel like people just fall naturally into it. You know, they're like, okay, it's messy in here, let me clean up. But some people
will let that shit
and it's disgusting.
It's disgusting, and I think it's like a representation of, like, they always say, like, your space is kind of like a representation of your mind.
100%.
You know? And so if someone's like really messy to the point of like, not even just messy, like, it goes back to hygiene for me. There's like messy and then there's dirty.
Yes.
And like if you have a dirty space, I just feel like...
Yeah, because anybody can be messy.
Yeah. It's more like dirty, like germs, like accumulating in your space, like doesn't give me the best idea of...
And just smells
going
too.
on up here.
I think I've been way more... my nose has been sensitive... in these past few years. I don't know why. I don't know.
Listen,
but
it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, kind of. Sometimes it is. It's like a little too much. Like I can smell everything, and it's not. Yeah. And it's not good. It's not good. So hygiene always.
Yeah, that's a good one. I feel like it would be a deal breaker for me if someone had bad hygiene for sure. One other question I wanted to ask you, and I love this topic, is love languages. I just find them very interesting because I feel like the way that, like, your love language for the way that you receive love isn't always how you give love, and I find that so interesting. So for you, what are there's 5 of them, right? It's like physical touch,
words of affirmation,
quality time,
gifts,
right? And acts of service.
Okay.
So what would you say is your love language as far as how you give love?
Well, first of all, I want to say I think I love the idea of love languages, but I think everyone likes all of the love languages.
I think it should be a balance of all of them.
Yes, they give and receive with all of the love languages. So I'll say that. But I think that the main way that I give love would be acts of service and words of affirmation. Yeah, I think I like to make people feel comfortable all the time. Just reassure them, and like I'll do anything that you need me to do, and I'll like do even more than what you need me to do. I think just because like I want you to
make things easier
feel,
for the person, or to make things more comfortable.
Just like be proactive about like your things as well as mine to make you feel like I got you. Yeah. And yeah, just like I think that when I've dated, I'm very affectionate. Also physical touch is huge, but physical touch in terms of like I will always have like my hand on you and always like touching, you know. It doesn't even have to be sexual. It's just like like
hand holding, cuddling.
Like but yeah, those I think are the three.
As far as like receiving or how you like to receive love, obviously we like all of them. But if you had to say like what your main ones
Gifts.
Are.
No. Trips and expensive trips.
Good answer.
No. I think words of affirmation are huge to me. I think it happens to all of us to where like we doubt ourselves a lot, and especially at the beginning of a relationship, you just need someone to tell you like that you're doing good and you look good. That's huge. And physical touch, just the same, like I need you on like not
I need you on me.
Yeah, but I do like I want to feel wanted all the time. So I feel like physical touch, words of affirmation, and acts of service. I think that the three that
are the most important.
I express are the ones that I would like to have in return.
For sure.
And I think that's interesting because I feel like the way that people express their love is most of the time how they want to receive their love.
That's true. It's just it's usually just as important, or one of the important ones that they have.
Yeah. What about you?
I feel like as far as how I give love, I think that gifts are actually a big one for me as far as how I show love. I love to give gifts.
You give the best gifts.
And like
you choose the best wrapping paper, the best everything, the best cards.
Thank you. It's the best compliment. It doesn't even have to do with like, you know, being an expensive gift or anything like that or extravagant, but like I just love like finding things that I know are like unique and special for the person, and I love like wrapping them in like very nice little packages, and there's something about that I just really enjoy. I always have. And even like on people's birthdays and like Christmas, and like I'm always like excited to watch people open the gifts that I'm giving, like than I'm excited to open my gift.
You start Christmas shopping like
I do.
Like
I'm like
3 years
already.
in advance.
Like
it's crazy.
I do love it. Like I love watching people I love like open gifts from me, and even if they're like small gifts, like there's just something about it that really makes me happy. So that's for sure like one for me. I feel like just like you, I'm also very affectionate, very touchy-feely, and I think that I show love by giving physical affection, and I also like to receive love that way. Words of affirmation are huge as far as how I receive love. Like I need what you said, reassurance. I need to hear that like, you know, that you're happy, and that
the more the better.
Yeah, the more the better, and it makes me feel really good and secure when I have words of affirmation. What are the other ones? Words of affirmation,
acts of
quality
service.
time. I do think that quality time is one that like, as far as how I like to show. I mean, both show and receive. I like to have quality time. But I agree with you. I think out of all of them, I think words of affirmation is my biggest, like that's what makes me feel the best in a relationship.
It just keeps you calm.
It does. Yeah. So it is interesting though, because it is a little bit of all of them.
Yeah.
It's weird
how
like
who doesn't like gifts?
I mean,
who doesn't love quality
gifts.
time? You hear that, Phil?
Okay, so we're going to play a little game of Would You Rather. And this is a dating themed game of Would You Rather. And these questions, I found them online. I did not write these myself. And they're pretty lengthy, but we'll see. We can both answer them. But the first one is, do you want someone who is deeply romantic, someone who is always open about their feelings and likes to be tender and affectionate? Or would you rather be with someone who is more mysterious, subtle, and slow to reveal their emotions, but still feels all of those things all the same? So like someone who basically comes right out with it, or someone who's maybe like a little bit more slow to burn and keeps their cards to their chest.
I feel like I'm going to go with the second one.
Yeah.
And that may be kind of like a red flag from me because it kind of turns me off when it's super romantic up front,
like right off the bat.
Yeah.
I like how we just got done saying like words of affirmation. We need reassurance. And it's like,
but that's
actually
different.
It kind of turns me off when they tell me that how much they like me.
Toxic. No, but I mean, just kidding. I mean like being romantic and ooey gooey up front, I think it's a red flag in itself.
Right off
just
the bat.
because like I also am very slow to warm up to someone like that, like I don't get feelings fast. So I think that if a person were to show their feelings really fast to me, it just wouldn't.
It would turn you off.
Yeah, I would just be like, oh, you're lying. Like, this is fake. I get that. I'm out.
I mean, Phil told me that he was going to marry me and impregnate me like on our first date.
Not impregnate
he said, I'm going to wipe you up.
Wow. Well, that's different, though. That's cute and hot. Not like, I had a guy write in like this notebook. He was in his 30s. If I wanted to be his girlfriend on the second date, and he put like yes or no on the notebook. And it was just kind of like,
on a second date, it's kind of early.
It was like a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
I think slow and, realizing that we would want a future together is
in a
more
healthy
romantic
amount of time.
Yeah, it's more romantic to me than just like,
all
I'm
in.
yours, you're mine, let's go for it type thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get that. I see that. All right. Would you rather be with someone who has all the same interests as you, same favorite movies, same hobbies, same taste in music, etc.? Or do you want to be with someone who's the complete opposite of you so that you can introduce each other to new things?
I would have to go with the same one. Just because I think that I feel like I the things that I like are the good things.
I like all the right and correct things, so we want to make sure that you like all the right things too.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree, because then you can share in that, and like that you can. That's another way to
bond.
Yes, I get that.
Exactly.
I agree. 100% agree. The next one is: would you rather be with someone who wants to move all over the place, live in various cities, and constantly be exploring? Or would you be happier with someone who's interested in building a life in one place for a long period of time?
Ooh, I think that can be the same person, because we can travel and move a lot and then decide to
eventually
settle
somewhere.
As you know, I love traveling. So if anything, I would choose the move around person. Yeah.
Okay. That is the opposite of me. I hate traveling. No, I don't hate traveling, but I'm definitely not a traveler, I would say. And I think I'm more of the essence of wanting to like settle down.
Well, you have a child. So
yeah, that definitely adds to it. And also I think like I just love where I live
Yeah.
so much that I'm kind of like, I'm a little, I don't know, I'm biased. Like I'm sure of it, or at least I feel sure of it.
Yeah. And also for me, I think it's because I moved away from my parents from a young age. I also feel like I have that detachment.
You're more open to change, maybe.
Yes, I'm very, very open to change because I know that living somewhere else can like open my mind in different ways. I can grow so much. I love that.
That makes sense. Okay, it says, are you more interested in the person who's the life of the party, in the center of the circle, making everyone laugh, or the person sitting calmly in the back who strikes up a conversation with you and intrigues you from the start?
Ooh, the intriguing, mysterious man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of goes back to that whole like, well, life of the party or quiet guy.
I think a person who's more reserved it just makes more sense for me at this point in my life. I think in college I would have been like, oh, the hot guy.
We've all gone for the loud,
the funny
the
jokes.
loud, rowdy guy.
Yeah. But no, now I think that it's cool to just own it and know who you are, you know? Yeah, definitely the quiet guy.
Agree.
It's a vibe.
Safe choice. Is it more important for them to be able to make you laugh or for you to feel like you can have an intellectual conversation with them?
Is it more important to them?
Is it more important for you if they're able to make you laugh or if you're able to have an intellectual conversation with them?
That's hard.
I know.
That's hard.
I feel like it's both.
Yeah, it's both.
Like you kind of have to have both.
But I'm gonna answer it because I think I have to. I think the laugh
Is more important.
I think is more important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you can go through a relationship and not
just have the
laugh.
You have to have like a sense of like the sense of humor that makes sense for both of you and make it yours.
It's true. Yeah. I agree. Well, those were my would you rather questions.
Okay.
But I think that you are going to find your person
thank you.
very, very soon. I feel it in my bones, and they are going to be the luckiest motherfucker in the world. And I think we can all agree.
That's right.
Okay. I just want to say thank you so much for being on my podcast and for supporting truly every single thing that I've ever done, ever. Every project, every like phase of life, the boring ones, the exciting ones, you have been there, and I could not be more grateful for you. So thank you for being a part of this new chapter.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And thank you. Whoa, sorry, that was weird of me. I like looked at the camera and then I panned to you for some reason. And once again, thank you so much to everyone for tuning in, supporting, and showing love. It honestly means the world to me. This has been such an awesome journey so far, and I'm super excited for what's to come. Thank you for watching The Mess. See you next time.